It was the grading, filling, and building of Camp Endicott, Davisville. In less than 8 months, the construction training center was humming with activity. From a modest beginning as a sprawling tent city, by November 1942, Camp Endicott was operating at capacity of some 350 officers and 15,000 men. "100,000 builders and fighters streamed from this base to the South Pacific, the Aleutians, Iceland, Europe, Africa, the Mediterranean. Here, the famous igloo-like Quonset huts were designed and developed. The singular design of these huts put them in the forefront of the prefabricated buildings of today. Hospitals, barracks, and workshops were housed in the versatile Quonset huts. Another distinctive development of Davisville was referred to on the beaches and waterfronts of the world as the Seabees Magic Box. This 5x7 by 5 foot cube of sheet steel, handled by the Seabees like toy building blocks, was fastened together to make causeways, piers, cargo lighters, floating cranes, and dry docks. This technique developed here on Narragansett Bay. Quonset huts, pontoons, the Marston mats of perforated steel that firm tropic mud and Arctic tundra, all the tools of the trade in a worldwide construction project. Whether building for battle or for peace, the ingenuity of the Seabees is known worldwide. Today's Seabees are much younger than the builders and fighters of World War II. In contrast to the grizzled veteran construction men who hastened to volunteer their skills during the threat of the early 40s, today's Seabee recruits come to the Navy with little or no construction experience. Today at Davisville, it's on-the-job training. The most impressive and perhaps the noisiest classroom at Davisville is the Heavy Equipment School. Here, the novice learns the rating of equipment operator. Perched high in the driver's seat, fresh-faced youngsters who may have never driven anything more complicated than the family convertible wheel giant bulldozers and earth movers through the area affectionately known as the snake pit. The equipment operator learns to handle bulldozers, scraper graders, ditching machines, front-end loaders, clamshells, drag lines, and backhoes. This jointed monster does a man-sized job, the bulldozer and scraper combinations, averaging about $30,000 apiece, can move the equivalent of 5 dump truck loads of earth in a single sweep. Keeping the bulldozers and earth scrapers in line is the task of the Seabee surveyor. For the transit operator, a keen eye and mathematical perception of angles and distances are a key to a well-laid-out project. At the Davisville training site, highways, bridges, airstrips, and grading projects are marked out every day as the Seabees take their classroom mathematics out of doors for actual field practice. Working along with the construction crews, skilled Seabee electricians set poles and string the high lines to bring in power and light. Schooled by experienced civilian and Navy electricians, the trainee dons the climbing irons and safety belt and learns to move up in this unusual classroom. That's about 40 feet up. Add to this the electric voltage coursing through the high lines on the top of the pole. On the brighter side, an elevated game of catch helps to acclimate the new climbers to height. The penalty for a missed catch, the man who misses must clamber down the pole, then return with the ball. The Seabees have always been known for their ingenuity, adapting themselves to the situation, living off of the land to carve out bases in the wilderness. To learn how to log and mill out their own lumber, the Seabees practice at a civilian sawmill nearby Davisville. Green logs soon become useful timbers under the direction of Seabee instructors. The Seabees are prepared at Davisville to maintain their automotive and heavy equipment wherever they may be assigned. The future grease monkeys are not only trained in the traditional maintenance procedures, but face new challenges from the continuing new developments of this nation's automotive progress. The multi-fuel engine in a new 6x6 dump truck poses new problems. The truck is fitted with 6 wheels and all 6 with power, thus the term 6x6. The multi-fuel engine can burn any sort of petroleum fuel, from kerosene through gasoline, diesel fuel, and even the heavy black bunker oil. In the maintenance shop, civilian employees help to train the Seabees. In an agreement with cooperating trade unions, the civilian employees in the shops give the Seabees the benefit of their skills and experience. Public telephone companies contribute their equipment and know-how to the communications school. When a husky masculine voice says, "Number, please," from this switchboard, your line may be to a distant command post, a supply dump, or a forward area. Linking these areas are other Seabees with hot soldering irons as they splice and connect the complex maze of cables and wires. Meanwhile, out in the sun, Seabee carpenters are learning how to construct the typical building used in the Southeast Asia Theater of Operations. Called strongbacks in the Navy vernacular, they are the subtropical answer to the old Quonset huts. Some of these Seabees may be welders, metalsmiths, or electricians. Sawing a straight line through a 2x4 may be the job that's called for on the next assignment. Part of the Seabees' motto is "We fight," and this elemental part of the Seabees' schooling is punctuated by the sharp crack of a carbine or the rattle of a machine gun at Sun Valley Reservation, just inland from the Davisville complex. The New England countryside lends itself to all sorts of combat terrain. Here's a platoon of combat-ready trainees as they fan out across an open valley seeking out the enemy. Somewhere out there, hidden guerrillas waiting in ambush, but where and how is the question. Striped helmeted instructors move with the troops, checking and correcting tactics. Although this is all blank ammunition, the tension and the suspense is none the less real. There's a machine gun. Hit the dirt. There may be more. Check the perimeter. The platoon pinned down in the open. Scattered return fire, but no clear shot at the hidden gun, which has a clear field of fire. The platoon leader calls for artillery support. Smoke charges simulate several rounds of artillery. The gun is silenced and the platoon moves out to another problem. Again, the classroom is the New England countryside. The subjects read like a catalog of battle principles, of camouflage and concealment, unconventional warfare, infiltration, night noises, night vision, rifle grenades, grenade launcher. The Seabees' motto, "We fight." They learn how at Sun Valley. The Seabee trainees and recruits enter the gates at Davisville armed with the spirit and the will to learn. The training command of the Atlantic Fleet Naval Construction Battalions provides the inspiration and the knowledge. With increasing pressure on our fleet units in Southeast Asia, additional Mobile Construction Battalions are being commissioned. Mobile Construction Battalion 40 is recommissioned. Famous 4-0 unit, distinguished in World War II, gets a new commissioning pennant for the battle flag. New orders for action overseas. Port facilities in Saigon, barracks in Da Nang, water purification plant at Kontum. Seabees trained at Davisville, Rhode Island, on a world-girdling mission to build and to fight. Mobile Construction Battalion 7 is typical of the Davisville Seabees, who have answered the call for our increased commitments in Southeast Asia. At dawn on a recent spring morning, the advance party lined up for final muster on the runway at Quonset. The rays of the slowly rising sun had little effect on the chill winds that swept across the field from Narragansett Bay. Standing by a short distance away, a shining jet transport, its massive rear doors ajar, poised for the long flight to the other side of the world. The passage of our Seabees to Vietnam challenges the imagination. Soaring at the edge of space at close to the speed of sound, they travel the Great Circle route, winging over Alaskan mountains locked in ice and snow, and then down over the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. reaching on toward the battlefront in Southeast Asia. MCV-7 was assigned to the northern portion of South Vietnam, just below the border at Phu Bai, on the outskirts of Hue, 34 miles north of Da Nang. This a Vietnamese cemetery. Next to it, soggy paddies where the natives eke out their rice harvest. Near this remote area, the Marines are dug in, living in two-man tents at the edge of their slit trenches. The job of the Seabees, assemble the tools, the material, and get to work. Build a camp for the Seabees, a working base to start, then get on with the job of building for the Marines and the Army. The original structures are 20 by 40-foot screened and canvas shelters, the strong backs. The large wooden frames are built about 3 feet off the ground, wooden legs and feet designed to keep the men off the ground during the fall monsoon season, when the moist tropic air sweeps in from the sea with torrents of rain that falls in sheets for days on end, flooding everything. Here, the skills learned at Davisville serve the men well. By prefabricating the wooden structures in sections, the number of man days it takes to construct these shelters is cut almost in half. With the Seabees housed and mess halls built, the men of Battalion 7 move on to new projects. 110 strongbacks erected for the Marines, 6 comfortable airy mess halls, wells drilled to supply running water, electrical generators installed, wiring strung. A communication center hewn out of the red sand earth 15 feet underground, shored up and banked with sandbags and trenched entrances. In this carefully protected burrow, the delicate electronic and communications equipment is set up. Construction goes on, a screened-in medical facility. For the first time, the physicians can operate under huge 500-pound operating room lighting units put in place thanks to the ingenuity of the Seabees. The hard-working Seabees and Marines for the first time enjoyed indoor showers, where before the men flocked to a common spray pipe under the sky, the weary toilers could now luxuriate beneath the cooling showers, screened and sheltered. Fleet logistic warehouses were constructed to shelter delicate material, food, and ammunition from the blazing sun. When Marine combat vehicles, tanks, and troop carriers are damaged in combat, they are taken to the Seabees body and fender shop for repair and refurbishing. When it came time to pour concrete for the foundation forms, the men of the 7th found they did not have a suitable concrete bucket. Again, Yankee ingenuity paid off. 2 50-gallon drums are cut and welded into a bucket and funnel to do the job. Working side by side with the Seabees, South Vietnamese men and women pitch in. The natives are paid for their labors at the going rate. This, as part of the Civic Action Program, helps to bolster their economy and makes them self-sustaining. Leftover food and rations are channeled to the natives also, and medical and dental technicians make regular visits to nearby villages and hamlets to hold sick call. They have encountered unfamiliar diseases and afflictions that challenge the medical world. Their efforts in instructing and indoctrinating the natives in personal hygiene and care are paying off. The Seabees are building confidence and understanding through their Civic Action Program. Is ever present, and the Seabees guard their section with care. The perimeter of their enclave is ringed with mortar trenches, zigzagged to minimize the effect of shrapnel. From time to time, the enemy probes the wire and minefields, only to be driven off by the defending construction men. With all of the effort, there's still time out for play. Even a fast game of volleyball, when it's 100, 110 degrees in the sun, is a welcome break from the day's routine. Extra classwork in the new, now completed mess halls also provides a change and a challenge. In Vietnam, the Seabees and the Marines are working and fighting together for free world security. At another distant outpost, manned and supported by the Seabees, the natives frolic on their beaches, seemingly without a care in the world. This is the bottom of the world, the ice-bound continent of the Antarctic. More than 300 officers and men are assigned to the Antarctic support activities, Operation Deep Freeze. 2 units make the long journey to the bottom of the world each October during the summer season down under. Aerial delivery by huge C-130 Hercules ski-equipped planes thunder into the snowfields. This a snow miller built in Switzerland and flown into the Seabees in Marie Birdland. This 20-ton mechanical mole claws its way through hard-packed snow, gobbling a 4 by 8-foot trench and spewing it out in a 2-story plume of ice and snow. With the deep trench cut into the ice cap, Seabees apply the finishing smoothing off. New material for the job arrives on schedule as the versatile C-130s wing in from the distant supply dumps, shrinking the icy wastes traversed short years ago by the lumbering tractor trains. Large prefabricated arches speed the construction of the roof sections, capping over the deep trench. The giant arches protect the building from the crushing weight of the snowbanks. Thus, the Seabees work to create the under-snow station of the future, housing our Antarctic scientific effort under the weather and biting winds in Marie Birdland. Meanwhile, at McMurdo Sound, demolition experts break ground for the first nuclear power station at the South Pole. Prefabricated reactor units prepared in Rhode Island arrive at the ice shelf by ship. In less than 75 days, the nuclear reactor is fully operational, supplying 1,500 kilowatts of power for McMurdo Sound. Traditional Seabee ingenuity utilizes a skyhook on the ice to raise a 110-foot high rhombic antenna as part of the complex communication and weather facility. Thanks to the Atlantic Fleet Seabees from Davisville, our scientists and research technicians have a permanent foothold on the forbidding ice of the South Pole. At present, 5 Seabee-built bases are manned by the personnel of Davisville's Antarctic support activities, one of them right on the South Pole itself. At Rota, Spain, some of the more conventional work by Seabees goes on. Here, the Seabees erect prefabricated homes. These buildings come in pre-numbered pieces and fit together like a child's building set. 300 units literally spring up on the broad plain at Rota. Planning and preparation back in the United States paid off here, speeded by direct sea transportation from Davisville, Rhode Island. To support Seabees in such widely divergent areas as the Antarctic, Rota Spain, Argentia, Newfoundland, and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, a ready reservoir of supply must be maintained at the home base. This year-round responsibility at Davisville employs more than 1,000 civilians engaged in planning and filling out the shopping list from this huge government supermarket on Narragansett Bay. Construction materials from simple paneling, wiring, and plumbing to scientific items are amassed from all over the country, assembled and packed for worldwide distribution. Packing for this worldwide market basket means every consideration must be taken for the extremes of temperature and humidity that might be encountered. Thousands of repair parts are assembled and placed in specialized containers to provide a vital on-the-spot source of spare parts to keep the equipment operating in the field. There are 306 buildings enclosing some 2,000 acres of storage facility at Davisville. 244,000 square feet of this space is in controlled atmosphere, carefully monitored to provide constant temperature and humidity. Davisville's piers can handle 7 deep water ships, plus an LST landing. Within the base, there are 47 miles of paved roads, 11 miles of gravel roads, and 23 miles of railroad track upon which the Seabees operate their own railroad, not only for facilitating storage and supply, but for training as well. Along the Davisville waterfront, the year-round activity of replenishment and supply goes on. This is one of 8 fleet ammunition ships attached to the Atlantic Fleet. In summer heat or winter cold, these ships and the service force load ammunition and supplies for the Navy's distant forward areas. With ships like these, great quantities of spare parts and other commodities can be transported easily wherever needed. A little-known facet of the Davisville activity is the storing of national stockpile material. Strict security guards these critical items. From Austria, aluminum oxide, an abrasive grain material, is stored in 1,100-pound barrels stacked according to grade and size. Solid copper sheets weighing 100 to 200 pounds are stored and shipped from the stockpile. Solid copper bars are also forklifted to waiting cars. Much of the copper used in the new coins was shipped from here to plants in nearby Attleboro and elsewhere for fabrication into the sandwich metal and the new quarters. Ingots of lead, tin, and zinc are stored on the huge flat paved area in western Davisville. This vast plain, bordered by railroad loading sidings, was formerly the site of the fabrication plants for the Quonset huts, shipped from here around the world during World War II. 4 warehouses 200 feet wide and 1,000 feet long house other diverse items from around the world. Great bales of hemp from the Philippines and elsewhere are stacked high in the warehouse, the long golden strands of fiber packed in long bales. In another section, workmen weigh and sort bales of crude rubber. Sheets of the latex poured and smoked in the distant jungles and baled in heavy blocks. Stored in unheated warehouses, the rubber absorbs the chill of the New England winter. Amazingly, when a bale is broken open, the thin sheets of rubber are cold and stiff, even in the heat of summer. Uncle Sam also stores bales of feathers and down. Millions of ducks and geese in various parts of the world contributed to this stockpile. Incredible as it may seem, some of the bales of feathers from the Far East have been carefully picked over. In a human effort that staggers the Western imagination, each feather has had its quill or shaft carefully removed. The result, hundreds of pounds of softer feathers. Many millions of dollars worth of strategic and not so strategic materials are received, stored, and shipped by civilian workers at Davisville. As home base to the Atlantic Seabees, the men of the growing force of construction battalions are housed, fed, and provided with training and recreational facilities while they are at home in Rhode Island. This, the barracks area, tastefully painted in pastels, offers at least a psychological variance from the usual run-of-the-mill military establishment. Sparkling clean, modern, and comfortable. Much credit for the Davisville Seabees' high morale must be attributed to the expert food preparation and service in what is known to the Navy as the General Mess. The cooks, bakers, and messmen take pride in the fact that their mess has been tops in the 1st Naval District for more than 4 years. The Seabees built their own chapel in the Pines on the base. In this unique house of worship, religious services for both Catholic and Protestant personnel are conducted on a regular basis. The unusual rotating altar provides a quick transition for denominational worship, another Seabee inspiration. The Seabees are good neighbors to Rhode Island. The Construction Battalion Center is one of the major contributors to the economy of Rhode Island and southeastern Massachusetts. They operate on a $25 million budget, which is used for the payment of salaries, purchase of material and equipment, and many other items which go into the operation of an activity this size. There's no question that the impact of the Seabee Center on the community is a significant one. The Seabees' motto is Construimus Batuimus. We build, we fight. They have lived up to it and have died for it in strange places around the world. Today, the Fighting Seabees are again a growing force. New men are being trained to build and to fight at remote outposts and battlefronts around the world. And the Seabees are changing the face of the world, supporting the Marines and the Navy in activities in peace and war. From their home base in Rhode Island at Davisville.